Hey YouTube family, it's your girl Jazzy, getting jazzy with jazz. And if y'all want to have a good time, YouTube family, just like I do, come on over. And I need y'all to go ahead and do this for me, like, comment, and subscribe. And then we're going to get the party started. Good morning, YouTube. And I'm talking about a little series that's on Netflix. And the series that's on Netflix it is Trainwreck. So this is Trainwreck Astroworld. Y'all know who Astroworld is. If y'all like Travis Scott, I'm not gonna be giving him no good pointers in here because a lot of stuff that happened at this particular concert. But you gotta remember who was over it, Live Nation. You know who Live Nation is. Anyway, this is the Astroworld tragedy. And it starts with, people saying that they so excited. It was in Texas and Houston. That's where Travis Scott is from. That I didn't know. I didn't know where he was from or anything because, I didn't put a lot of looking into him because he's not my type of artist that I would, want to put all the effort and the energy in. So, Astroworld tragedy, and it was people that were saying how they were so excited. A lot of Hispanics, they were saying that they're so excited to go see Travis Scott, and it's nothing against them or nothing. I wasn't trying to single, a particular group out, but just wanted y'all to know. They was excited though. It was about 4 of them. It was a girlfriend and a boyfriend. It was 2 sets of couples, girlfriend and a boyfriend, girlfriend and a boyfriend. So they were all friends too. So they was excited. And then it finally gets down to the concert. And then, if y'all know about a mosh pit and through a concert, that's exactly what happened. Going back to, if y'all seen Selena movie, or if y'all know anything about Selena, that's what was happening in El Paso, Texas when she was performing. And it was a minor mosh pit. And all it was people are just so excited and they just push. And that's exactly what they did. And people got hurt here. Nobody got hurt at the Selena concert. Nobody lost their lives at that concert. And that's what makes me mad, because I watched it and then I had no idea that happened. And then when I saw a particular part in this documentary, then I said, oh, okay, I remember. And if y'all remember what I'm talking about, Charlamagne talked to him. And Charlamagne was pretty much asking, and he wasn't just being, I know he's a commentator or whatever, or, he reports and stuff like that. He wasn't really necessarily taking that approach. He was taking the approach with, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why didn't you stop the concert? And I wanted to know that too. So, because it led to people just pushing. For one, that event was outside and they only sold a certain amount of tickets. And what Live Nation did is they oversold the tickets. And I'm like, you can be outside all day, but outside is just as bad as being inside. And it's just like people, and then people were jumping the gates. And the HPD, Houston Police Department, they didn't have no control over all those people. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And they only sold, that concert was only supposed to fit about 3,000, 5,000 people. And I kid y'all not, it was way more than 5,000 people. Because I'm looking at it on the documentary, and I'm like, wow. And you couldn't see nothing. Nothing. You couldn't even see the ground. And I said, not supposed to be that many people. And then people was jumping gates and all that stuff. So it was reported that half of the people that probably was there, they didn't pay for a ticket. But you know, it wasn't nothing that the Houston Police Department did to stop it. It was not. They didn't do a thing. And I'm like, it's kids out here though. I mean, it's younger kids. Everybody wasn't over the age of 21. It was 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. I would not. Well, my little girl turned 13. She, I mind would be, you know, what type of music she be listening to and all that stuff. And she's not even that type of child. But it's just, and me and my little girl, we was watching this together. And she said, I would never. I said, I know. And I would never let you go to no concert that's gonna be like that. And it always depends on the artist. And I just didn't know that Travis, that darn Travis, I didn't know he had that many fans like that. And call me old if you want to. I'm just 35. But I just didn't know about him. And honestly speaking, the only thing that I knew about him was he had that pretty baby, Stormy. And he had that baby with Kylie Jenner. That's the only thing that I knew about him. And I knew he was young. He was 27. Young. He from Houston. They did do that, get that background. He from Houston. And he said that he always wanted to do this. He always wanted to do that. And I'm gonna tell y'all this. It used to be a park. Six Flags, I think it was Six Flags over Astroworld or Astroworld theme park. That's where the name came from. Because he was saying that he always wanted to go to Astroworld before they closed it. I believe it's closed. It may not be closed. Who knows? And I'm gonna start. So a lot of people was performing, including my girl SZA. She was performing, and just a lot of artists were performing. And then I want to say Nicki Minaj was performing, and Lil Wayne was performing. Just a lot of different people, just a lot of different artists that were performing. And it was a festival. It wasn't a concert. It was a festival. I've been to a festival before, and I know exactly how a festival can be. And I know it's always rushing and pushing and all that. It can be the same thing at an arena. Because when I went to Chris Brown concert, I was front row. Front row. I was on the floor too. And I said, personally, I don't like being on the floor. And the reason why I don't like being on the floor, because of what happened at this in this particular situation. That's what was happening at the Chris Brown concert. And it's like a security guard can just do so much. And I mean, they shouldn't be trying to get hurt themselves, because people will push you and people will injure you. And then it just came to a point to where the crowd was too tight. And then it got tight, and then people were pushing and just bomb rushing. And then for people, they couldn't breathe. They could not breathe at this concert. It was just so tight, and it was just so hot out there. And you know, Texas, it can get hot. It was hot, it was tight. And then people was passing out, falling out. They were getting hurt. And then they were like literally just running on top of each other and falling on top of each other. That's dangerous. And then the thing is, he never stopped that concert. And that's the thing that pissed me off when I was watching this. I'm like, so that was true. He never stopped the concert. And I said, I don't care about nothing, because I know he's not as big as a Rihanna. But Rihanna has stopped her concert. Ariana Grande has stopped her concert. If anybody gets word, they have something in their ear telling them what's going on. And he wasn't listening. And they was telling him. He ain't gonna make me believe that they wasn't telling him that people was getting injured, and he could see it. He could see it, and he could see that it was paramedics, and then he could see that the ambulance people was actually coming in the crowd and working on CPR on people. It was 6 people that was getting CPR down in the middle of this crowd, and then they had to make room for them to give CPR on these people. That's just unheard of, and it's not that serious for an artist, period. It's not. And I said, I've never loved an artist that much. And then that just shows your human side. If you know what's going on, you stop the concert. And did nobody tell him to stop the concert? And there's plenty of artists that have had a situation like that, and they find out and they stop the concert. It don't matter how much money is involved. They need to stop the concert, because they have a human side and they don't want nobody to get injured on their behalf. And then when I tell you, they was looking for the management. They was looking for the management. And then they was looking for Live Nation too. Of course they didn't say that. Of course they didn't say nothing. Of course they didn't respond. And then it was a child that got carried out because it was too much. It's too much for kids. They don't have as much breath in their body. They don't have the capacity like an adult has. The child shouldn't have been there. Not there. And it's not nobody's fault, but that just wasn't right. And I'm sitting up there watching these people getting carried out. I'm sitting there watching these people falling. I'm sitting there watching these people saying that they couldn't breathe. And then it was a few people on the during this documentary, and they were saying that it was one dude, he had to get on top of the light, for the concert, and he had to tell. I mean, it ain't like he wouldn't have been loud enough, but he was just telling them to stop. He was doing this, stop. He act like he didn't see him. And I said, I know good that he saw that boy, because he was on top, and then Travis Scott was right here. And all he would have had to do was do this. And you got a peripheral. He saw that boy standing up there, and he saw him doing this, and everybody saw what was going on. And I'm like, they didn't stop. And then they did say that 8 minutes they told him in his ear, and he had to shut it off. He had to shut it down. Do you think that he did that? That concert didn't end until 10:13 p.m. and they started at 7. I said, he did a full concert. He did a full concert. And I said, okay. And then that young lady and that boy, the boy that lost his life, his name was Rudy. And he was the one out of the friend group that I was telling y'all about at the beginning. He was the one that was so excited to go to the concert. And he was so excited that the concert came so he could sing. And I said, everybody, concert goers, you should never feel like that who thinks that they're gonna lose their life if they go to a simple concert? Who thought that they was gonna lose their life? And this one was real heavy for me. And I'm like, whoa. So 9 people passed. And one of them was a minor. And they can't say anything about minors. 9 people passed. 10, including a minor. It shouldn't have to be like that. It really shouldn't have to be like that. Next says human decency. You should have the human decency. I don't care how old you are. Because I know at his age, when he was in his 20s, I had common sense. And I don't care. Money wasn't that serious. Money was serious for him, but money is never that serious. I don't care who it is, and you shouldn't care about your record label and this and this and this and that. You should never let nobody pressure you to keep doing something, especially when there's people that's getting hurt. And that's unheard of, and that's ridiculous. And when I was looking at this, and Charlemagne, he did do an interview with him. And he was asking him, if y'all remember that, I remember his interview. I remember Charlemagne doing an interview with him. And he had no really reaction, no emotion. And he was asking him questions that most people should ask. And he wasn't giving no answer. And what he said is, he didn't know. He didn't know nothing that was going on. Because he asked him, he said, did you know what was going on? And I'm like, he should have. And I'm not an artist, but it's like I said, keyword. It was people that was in his ear. And it was a boy that was up there, and he was telling them to stop, him to stop. And people in the crowd were saying, stop the show, stop the show, stop the show. And I said, you gonna damn tell me that he didn't hear that? And he didn't know what this meant. This meant, I mean, that meant stop. This means stop, cut it out. And he didn't do it. He didn't stop. And then he wants somebody to feel sorry for him. And like I said, that Astroworld, that tour ended abruptly. And I'm like, he had to pay these people out, because you better believe everybody sued him. They sued him. And rightfully so. And then Rock Nation, Live Nation, Rock Nation, they all the same people. It's Jay-Z. It just wasn't right. It just was not right. And I just said to myself, and then I was telling my little girl, I said, my concert days was kind of like that. I knew exactly what a mosh pit was. It should never happen, because nobody should ever be that important for it to be, you know, at the ref of somebody getting injured. It never should be like that. And then for people was passing out, and then he didn't stop, and people was telling. Then get this, y'all. Police and Live Nation allowed the concert more time. And I said, they didn't even have to include saying that in the documentary, because it was common sense. And you could see that the show kept going from the time that started at 7 p.m. And then it was over at 10:13 p.m. And my whole thing is, I understand that, you know, concerts and stuff like that, but it should never, ever, ever, ever be like that. And Travis, he said he didn't hear nothing. And I'm gonna tell y'all how many lawsuits was filed. Anytime Big and Crump gotta come on the scene, it's something serious. Because he was on the case. $750 million. And then 49 lawsuits filed. You better believe it. And then what it was, this is the real breakdown. It says 50,000 tickets. So Live Nation broadcasted 50,000 tickets. They overpriced it, because it ain't. That outside 50,000 people can stand out there comfortably at a concert, a festival, or whatever, without somebody getting injured. And then the tickets were sold before it was said how everything was supposed to be set up. Just going out there, just money, money, money. And I said, money should never be to the level where you okay with people getting hurt. You know, you should have common sense to know that that's too many people outside at a festival. That is too many people to be out there and not be pushing and pulling and all that. And then it was set to capacity. It was set to capacity. Bottom line, no more tickets should have been sold. But we had the people that was hopping over the gate and they was getting in for free. The police didn't do nothing about it. They sure did not. And then Live Nation was aware what was going on. I told y'all they was. And like I was telling y'all, it just ain't right. It should never, ever, ever come to that. You should never think that it's gonna be your last time seeing your family. And it was I felt so bad for this lady and her daughter. And she just, cause she wasn't in Houston. She said that her and her husband had to come to Houston, and she was just thinking that her son, she just wanted to hear about how the concert was for him. And she gets to the hospital, and then they say that he didn't make it and he had passed. And I said, the thing is, no mother should ever have to bury their child. They should never have to bury their child. And I said, and that's exactly what I was saying when I was watching the whole thing is, he shouldn't have had that concert. And he should have had somebody to check and make sure. And nobody checked and made sure nothing. It's just so sad. But that was Trainwreck, the Astroworld tragedy. It's on Netflix. So if y'all are interested in documentaries and stuff like that, then you should watch it. And it ain't so much about him, but just the tragedy and see how stuff is handled. And it's another one that I'm gonna be doing for y'all too. And it is Trainwreck, and it is called when they were on, the cruise ship. It's called Poop Scoop. Poop. Go figure. But it was the Astroworld tragedy, and it's on the in the documentary Trainwreck, and it's on Netflix. You should check it out if you have, if you like stuff like that. But I want y'all to do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm gonna finish drinking my coffee, and I'm gonna go ahead and eat my breakfast, and then I'm gonna go take my box to FedEx. Bye, y'all. Have a good morning. And YouTube, that was the video. And what I want y'all to do is like, comment, and subscribe. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye, YouTube family.